Hello again, everyone. The Snowman here, and today we're going to go over the men's draw for the Mutua Madrid Open in the Spanish capital. I've got to say it's been kind of a weird season so far, pretty disjointed. A lot of the stars on the men's side have been shuffling in and out so far this year, especially when you're talking about players like Nadal, Djokovic, Medvedev, among others. But right in the thick of the clay court season at this point, if you want more tennis previews and tennis content, please subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media. Give me a thumbs up, but excited to break down and analyze this ATP draw in Madrid as we ramp up to Roland Garros in just a few weeks' time. And speaking of second-ranked Daniil Medvedev, unfortunately, he'll be absent from the Mutua Madrid Open this week. Medvedev had a hernia procedure at the start of April, out 1 to 2 months, so it'll be a race against time for the Russian to be ready for Roland Garros. He did post this week on social media that he's practicing again, though, so that's great news. Also, no Matteo Berrettini, but let's turn our attention to the draw now. A very unbalanced draw, I might add. Top quarter here. Really weird season for world number one, Novak Djokovic so far. Shocking upsets to Yuri Vesely and Vidovic Fokina in Dubai and Monte Carlo, respectively. Last week in Belgrade, there were some slightly promising signs. Djokovic fought back 3 separate times from a set down to make the final in his home country, but Andrei Rublev too much to handle in that final. Novak getting bageled 6-love in the third set. Completely ran out of gas. Rare to see him have so little physically left in the tank, especially in a best-of-3 set match, but the lack of match play this season seems to have taken a toll on the Serbian's fitness. He's got his work cut out for him, especially with all the points he's defending coming up from the Rome final last year, as well as the French Open title. Joker needs a deep run in Madrid in the worst of ways. Can't really ask for a better first-round matchup than Dominic Thiem and Andy Murray, 2 Grand Slam champions with some phenomenal pedigree on red clay. Thiem into this draw thanks to a protected ranking. Sad to see Domi's ranking drop to 93. He's in dire need of a run this week as well, else that ranking will fall into triple digits. Thiem still working his way back from that serious wrist injury. 0-2 so far this season. Couldn't outlast John Millman in Belgrade last week, and it's the first clay court event of the year for Andy Murray. Given a wild card of this tournament, the 2015 Madrid Open champ, probably a slight edge to Murray in that encounter just based off current form, but their all-time head-to-head is 2-2. Thiem winning the last couple. It'd be awesome to see the Austrian healthy again and bombing one-handed backhands down the line. The winner there to potentially meet Denis Shapovalov. And then we still have Hubie Hurkacz, RBA, and Casper Ruud in the bottom part of this first section. I'll say it again, it's a very lopsided draw. For Novak to have to go through Monfils, Shapo, and then Ruud or Hurkacz just to get to the semis is a laborious task. We're going to have blockbuster matches early and often. Very difficult to pick a favorite out of this group, especially with Djokovic's lack of recent match play. Moving on to section 2 of this Madrid draw, which is more stacked than a Kardashian. We've got the top 2 French Open favorites in this quarter, both Spaniards, Rafa Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz. Let's start with Nadal, who's back a bit sooner than most people expected him to be. Rafa suffering that rib injury back at Indian Wells in late March, but we'll see how he looks in Madrid, a tournament that he's won on 5 separate occasions, the most of all time. Nadal hasn't played in a month now since that sizzling 20-0 start to the season, his best beginning to a tennis year in his life before losing that final in California to Taylor Fritz. It's worth noting that even with that time off, Nadal is still by far the clubhouse leader in terms of 2022 points and the race to Turin. 800 points clear of Stefanos Tsitsipas. Rafa, a likely favorite to expand that lead over the coming weeks with Madrid, Rome, and the French Open. But he's got an extremely difficult path in Madrid in front of him. He may run into the youngster Carlos Alcaraz, whose meteoric ascension has been one of the stories of the tennis year so far. Still 18 years of age, but now freshly broken into the top 10 of the rankings. He breaks in exactly 17 years after another 18-year-old Spaniard. Nadal cracked the top 10 back in 2005. Alcaraz, the 9th youngest player ever to be ranked inside the top 10 of the ATP rankings. 23-3 is the team's record this season. 3 titles already in Rio, the Masters 1000 in Miami, and now last week in Barcelona. He's a player really with no limits, no weaknesses in his game. For Alcaraz to have the pace and location on serve, power off of both wings, movement, defense, tactical intelligence, variety, mixed with the intangibles, a very positive attitude, humility, ability and an insatiable work ethic, Alcaraz just might end up in the top 10 for a very, very long time. He's like nitrous oxide on the tennis court, explosive and unrelenting. Alcaraz to meet the winner of Fonini Basilashvili, another excellent first rounder. And that's the thing with these 56-player Masters 1000 draws. The draw is so condensed, not much room for the less than elite players. Also, watch out for a guy like Miomir Kecmanovic. Only 3 players have more match wins than him this season. Not a fun player for Rafa to make his return against. If it is Nadal and Alcaraz in the quarters, Rafa already up 2-0 in that head-to-head. They had a quality match a month ago at Indian Wells, and Nadal taught the youngster a lesson in Madrid last year, 6-1, 6-2. Winner to meet maybe Joker in the semis. This is an insanely loaded top half of the draw. Next up is the third quarter, or as I like to call it, the land of opportunity. Finally some relief. The top seeds here, number 4, Stefanos Tsitsipas, and number 6, Andrei Rublev. Awesome run in Monte Carlo for Tsitsipas, defending his title there, winning his second career Masters 1000 title. Tsitsipas, we know he's an excellent hardcore player, but he becomes so much more dynamic on clay, in my opinion. Such an elegant mover for a player his height. The Greek's artistry was on full display in Monte Carlo. An epic comeback against Diego Schwartzman from down 4-love in the final set. Showed some steel will and resolve in that one, and then the highlight win coming in the semifinals, defeating his rival Alexander Zverev 6-4, 6-2 to take a 7-3 lead in that head-to-head series. The only problem for Steph is that last week he ran into Carlos Alcaraz in Barcelona, and the young Spaniard is already up 3-0 on him in their personal series. Nonetheless, Tsitsipas looking for a big week. He made the final in Madrid back in 2019, and he wouldn't have to meet Alcaraz unless he made the final here. I don't think Diego Schwartzman is going to scare him in this draw. Does have to watch out for Karen Khachanov in the second round potentially. We've also got the 11 seed Taylor Fritz tapping into his true potential under the tutelage of Michael Russell and Paul Annacone, playing aggressively with margin. Top 5 in wins this year. Couldn't ask for much more with the dream run at Indian Wells, beating Rublev and Nadal to win his biggest trophy to date in his home state of California, the first American to win Indian Wells since Andre Agassi in 2001. He's got an all-American matchup versus the uber-defensive Jensen Brooksby. Number 6, Andre Rublev capped off a fantastic week in Belgrade with his third title of the season, the 11th of his career, a convincing win over Djokovic in the final with that 6-love set as the ultimate exclamation point, and the elevation in Madrid should favor players like Rublev and Fritz, give them extra pop on those devastating forehands, but you feel like Steph is the pretty healthy favorite to get out of quarter number 3 and really to make it all the way to the final. Finally, in quarter number 4, we have the 2 seed Alexander Zverev, who was the man to beat in Madrid last season, the defending champion who ran through a who's who of opposition en route to that victory. Nishikori, Nadal in straight sets, Dominic Thiem, and then Matteo Berrettini in the final. He's having a fine season, but a big picture for Zverev. It's really not ideal for him that 2 of his biggest contemporaries, Medvedev and Tsitsipas, Medvedev has his number on hard court, and Steph really has Zverev's number on clay. Those matchups are never going to favor the German. We saw it on full display in Monte Carlo a couple weeks ago. Zverev had nothing to threaten Tsitsipas with. He's got to be more aggressive in varying the rallies, going down the line as compared to cross court so much. Then last week it was a woeful serving performance in Munich, losing to Holger Rune. Zverev has some pretty heavy hitters in his immediate section here in Madrid. Number 15, Riley Opelka. Last we saw of Opelka, he was winning his first clay title a few weeks ago in Houston, defeating John Isner in the all-serve bot final. He draws Sebastian Korda in round 1 in another American clash. Number 8, Felix Auger-Aliassime, the other top seed here, but I want to talk about number 10, Jannik Sinner. Extremely entertaining match against Zverev in Monte Carlo. I'm a huge fan of the Italian, but his tactics did perplex me a bit. He was very happy to sit back on the Zverev second serve, allow him to just loop it in play and start the point. I'd like to see Sinner be more aggressive overall, not rely so much on his stellar defense, but take the ball early and apply pressure to his opponents like we've seen lately from his young counterpart Carlos Alcaraz. I think it's one of the toughest things for young players to do, but letting it loose, not being afraid to make a mistake, not relying on your opponents to always make the mistake, that's a huge part of tennis, and there's so much to love about Sinner's game, but but if he could just take the initiative a bit more, he becomes that much more of a threat. Center to play Tommy Paul. It's certainly a much more wide open bottom half of this Madrid draw. We saw a player like Alejandro Davidovich Fokina make the Monte Carlo final. Maybe another player out of the blue like that takes advantage of this bottom half, but should be loads of fun tennis jam-packed into 7 days at the Mutua Madrid Open. Thanks a lot for watching my men's Madrid Open preview. Please subscribe to the Snowman Sports Meter for more tennis content. Be on the lookout for my women's Rome preview next week, and of course my French Open previews in a couple weeks as well. But thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.